held by, for example, weremonkeys, had left the Spotted Custard more in need of repairs than outfitting upon their return to London. Thus, while the officers of the Spotted Custard, mostly comprised of Rue and her friends, kept supernatural hours, the rest of the crew switched to daylight for ease of visibility in order to conduct said repairs. Outfitting had included restocking and refuelling, and the addition of a sparkling new Gatling gun for the port side, much to Spoo's delight. Spoo, head deckling, was quite as bloodthirsty as any boy of her age was wont to be, amusing when compared to her best friend, Virgil, who was as prissy as any girl of his age. The gun was a gift from Dharma, who, despite his tea-drenched grudge, refused to let Rue's 21st birthday slip by without acknowledgement. Rue had been in India on the actual date of the occurrence, likely acting the part of naked native goddess. Frankly, attaining her official majority had entirely slipped her mind. But no one could refute that she had indeed turned 21. Papers were filed, she was legally an adult, a free woman, and a ward of no one, vampire or otherwise. At her return home, Dharma had presented Rue with a large, shiny, rapid-fire gun because, as he said, she was all grown up and a fully-fledged independent now, and, knowing her family propensities, she'd need a ruddy big gun. It being well after dark, Rue, Prim, and Virgil were hailed from the Custard's main deck by a solitary night guard, and not by a teeming mass of decklings. Only one guard stood duty, as only one was needed, as that guard was Hachette Sekhmet. Miss Sekhmet didn't seem like very effective protection. True, she was tall and imposing, but also very female, wearing some sort of filmy tea-gown with her hair loose, and not a weapon in sight. Rue climbed out of the carriage and waved. "Only us?" "Ah, good evening, Captain. I wasn't expecting you tonight. And Miss Primrose? How are you this fine night?" Hachette turned her hunter's gaze onto Prim the moment she appeared. Rue didn't have to look to know that Primrose was blushing. Primrose was always blushing around Miss Sekhmet. She was in awe of their resident were-lioness, and despite Hachette's easy-going affection, Primrose refused to warm to her. Hachette, in classic cat fashion, thus found Primrose the most fascinating thing on board. "And young Virgil, a good evening to you." Virgil nodded happily. All of the Custard's youngsters were fond of Miss Sekhmet, partly because when she was in lioness form she let them ride her like a shipboard pony, and partly because she was one of the few adults on the dirigible who held no immediate connection to or official title within the aristocracy. True, she was a foreigner, but she was also a commoner, and she was nice about both. As a result, Hachette had turned most of Rue's crew into her minions. Rue might have minded, except that it was good for them to have an adult to talk to in an informal manner. She herself couldn't take on the role of mentor. As captain, she needed to inspire discipline and awe. Being a round, cheerful young lady, Rue was working on awe and discipline from a deficit. Also, Hachette had taken on the duty of militia training. Back in India, and now here, the werecat regularly put the deck crew through their paces to go up against not only daylight threats, but supernatural creatures as well. At her behest, Rue had seen them outfitted with crossbows, and everyone was feeling more relaxed as a result. The decklings being, by and large, vicious little scrappers, had taken to the idea of being armed with disturbing enthusiasm. Hachette, being an immortal, was strong enough to operate the gangplank without assistance. She cranked it down manually and with enviable ease. The three came trotting up. Even living together for weeks on end, Hachette up close always took Rue's breath away. She was so beautiful it hurt, like breathing deep on an icy evening. She was all exotically strong features, tea with milk complexion, and long, thick, dark hair. It was most upsetting, or would have been if she hadn't been so nice about it. One couldn't really resent Hachette for her beauty.